Welcome to Applied Mathematics at Northeastern State University, summer 2017. Okay, so this is our video 1, which talks about chapter 2. First of all, I'd like to apologize for video 0, which is a introduction to the course. It's terribly long, and as you can tell, I'm not good at doing videos at all. It's actually my first video, and it has some errors in it as well. But I tried like, as I said, 6 or 7 times, and I just get tired. I mean, I spent like 7 hours or 8 hours for that video, so I just finally stopped and gave whatever I have. Okay, now hopefully this one will be a little better than the previous one. Okay, so this chapter we talk about chapter 2. Again, remember we have the 3 parts in this course. Chapter 2, 3, and 4 is the first part. And this talks about mostly some really basic applied mathematics, which is about units, how to deal with units in chapter 2, and then about numbers and percentages in chapter 3, and then in chapter 4, we're going to use these basic ideas we learned to talk about some very useful issues on your personal finance. So this make our part 2. Now let me start comment on mathematics. Okay, many of you may feel like mathematics is difficult. Okay, although I haven't heard back from you from video 0, but if you really think about mathematics, is nothing. It's not mysterious. It actually comes from our everyday life. Okay, a long time ago, people invent numbers and everything because they need them. They simply need them in their life. So that's where mathematics come from, especially regarding to applied mathematics. Okay, all we learn in this class has a direct application to our life. They're going to be useful. So, and you can easily understand them by looking at examples. Okay, let's start chapter 2. The title of this chapter is approaches to problem solving. But actually, if you look at the 3 sections in this chapter, the first 2 actually talk about units a lot. So essentially, this chapter talks about how to deal with units and et cetera, et cetera. So let me, again, remember, this video is not trying to teach you everything in the chapter. It does not replace reading the book or watching the videos from my math lab. It just try to give you an overview about the chapter. So let me just bring out a couple of important points I think you need to know before you actually read the book. Kind of give you a big picture here. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is unit, why we need it and what is unit. Okay, so let me use the whiteboard here. Okay. So why do we need units? Okay, now if you learned mathematics before, you probably, I don't know whether what your experience. A lot of time people don't care about units. They're just saying that this length is 3, that length is 5, or whatever. Now, actually, in pure mathematics, okay, a lot of time people don't care about units. They will just say that we use arbitrary units or whatever, or they don't mention units at all. But for applied mathematics, like what we're learning, okay, all the numbers we have come from our real world. Okay, in those cases, most of numbers we deal with have units. For example, let's talk about like a length, right? Certainly, if you talk about lengths with other people, right, you just tell them 3 or 5 or whatever, they wouldn't know what you're talking about, right? So you have to specify a unit for them to know. So like if you say, for example, if you want to say, explain how tall you are, you normally say that I'm 6 feet 5 inch, right? You have to specify units. Otherwise, it does not make sense, right? Say in the case of length, the unit we have is like a feet or foot. Sorry, I was interrupted by a phone call. Let's continue our discussion about units, okay? So for that purpose, again, let's start from sharing the whiteboard. Okay, I'm gonna make it bigger. Okay, so we were talking about units, and as I explained, for example, in the case of length, in US we use foot and inches, for example, etc. Okay. Now, as we understand, right, we definitely need units in order to for the number to make sense in the real world. Okay. Now, there's some other, definitely we can talk about all kinds of quantities here, like time, right? We have like second and minute, etc., etc. Okay. And so now if you think about what exactly is a unit, okay, essentially it is something, for example, like a foot, right? It is a scale that everybody agrees. Okay, it's kind of, you can find it on a meter stick or whatever measurement tool you have, or in the case of time, right? We're talking about second or minute. Again, it's a scale that everybody agrees with. So that when they talk to each other, they know exactly what 1 foot is. It's 1 foot in US, it's 1 foot in China, it's 1 foot everywhere, right? So that is like a standard scale you use for this specific quantity, either for length or time or whatever quantity you're talking about, okay? Now, then you can specify a number in front of this unit to tell you, so that people understand how long it is or how much time it is, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Now, there are two kinds of unit systems we have. One is called US customary. The other one is called standard metric. For example, in US, we use foot and inches for length. Well, in the standard metric, they use meter and centimeter, et cetera, okay? Now, another thing is, like in US, we use pound and ounce for weight. Well, in the standard metric, people use kilogram and gram. So there's a difference, okay? Strictly speaking, these are units for mass. These are units for weight. But they're directly related, but they're not the same thing. But for the purpose of this course, they're kind of the same. Okay? Now, so as far as I know, the rest of the world are using standard metric system. Well, US use this customary system. So we're proud of our history and our tradition. So we proud of our units, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Now, so this brings us to the next topic. Okay. The next topic is how do we do unit conversion? Okay, it is important for traveling and a lot of other purposes. Okay, now nowadays we have smartphones that can convert units for us sometimes, like the temperature go from Fahrenheit to Celsius, et cetera, et cetera. But it's still useful to know, and sometimes easier and faster to calculate in your head than pull out your smartphone and do some calculation. So I'm gonna just give you a very simple example of converting units. Okay. So the unit we want to do the conversion is actually so let's do a currency conversion. Okay. Let's say you're in US, right? You want to travel to China. Okay. You want to convert. You want to buy some Chinese yuans using US dollars. Okay. For that purpose, you need to know how to convert US dollars to Chinese yuans to make sure that you are not cheated or you're not taking advantage of, right? So how do you convert units? Okay, now for that purpose, the first thing you need is a relationship between the two units. Okay, in this case, we need to know 1 US dollars equals to roughly 6.5 Chinese yuans. Okay, So without this relation between these two units, it's impossible to convert unit. Okay, you have to know this. This is some very basic thing you have to know. Okay, now let's say you take 1,000 US dollars with you. Okay, this is actually really like this. Okay, Chinese yuan normally they use this symbol for that. Okay, now how do you convert this to Chinese yuan? Okay, the idea is this. Okay, you can write this like this. Okay, write it and multiply this by 1. Okay, certainly if you multiply something by 1, it's still the same number, right? Now the trick here is you want to write this 1 in terms of this relationship between the two units. Okay, as we know, 1 US dollars equals 6.5 Chinese yuans. So you write it like this. Okay, you put $1 in the denominator and then 6.5 yuan in the denominator. Okay. This 6.5 yuan divided by $1 is 1, right? So because they are equal to each other, right? So this is like the way to write your 1. Okay. Now when you're writing it, you want to make sure that you write the unit that you want to convert it from in the denominator, while the unit you want to convert it to in the denominator, right? Now if you do this, you'll see that this unit and this unit cancel out. So what is left is going to be the new unit. Okay. So 1,000 times 6.5 gives you 6,500 yuan. Okay. So and this finish a unit conversion from dollars to yuans. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay, the third topic I want to mention is about unit analysis. It is actually a pretty broad topic and can talk about a lot of things. For what mattered in this course, actually it's pretty simple. Okay, so again, let's start from pulling out our whiteboard. So so what is unit analysis? Okay, it's just a simple meaning like if you know some quantity from their definition, you can figure out the unit of this quantity. For example, let me give you a few examples. Okay? Let's talk about speed. Okay? Now, as we kind of know out of our intuition, right? Speed tells you how fast the object moves, right? Essentially, it means like how much distance you travel per unit time, right? So this means that if you want to calculate speed, you would use the distance divided by a time, right? So if you know the unit for distance is meter, and then unit for time is second, you reach this unit for speed, which is meter divided by second, or meter per second, okay? You can sometimes write it like m per s, meter per second, okay? That actually is the unit for speed, okay? This is what we call unit analysis, okay? Now, here in US, we use another unit, which is mile per hour, right? When we drive, right? And that is important. You don't want to violate the speed limit, right? All the speed limits are given by mile per hour. But again, this is like essentially a distance measured in mile divided by a time measured in hour. So again, that gives you the unit of your speed, okay? Now, on this discussion, we see this keyword per. This is actually used in the book a lot. A lot of units, I mean, a lot of quantities have this per in it. It actually gives you a suggestion of the units and the meaning of the quantity. Okay, for example, let me talk about another common quantity like mileage, right? Essentially, this is like, it measures how efficient your car is in terms of using the gasoline, right? Essentially, it is a mile per hour deal, right? You want to, so the mile per gallon deal, right? You want to know how many miles your car can travel by each gallon, right? So again, you see this per here, right? So in calculating the mileage of your car, essentially you're using distance divided by the gasolines you use, right? So that means the unit for mileage is actually mile, which is unit for distance, per gallon, which is unit for gas. So this is the unit for mileage, okay? So, and you can easily calculate the mileage of your car by watching your gasoline bill, right? For example, you fill the tank full, and then you start the mileage from zero, from a mile from zero, and then the next time you fill the tank full, you see how many miles you traveled, and then you use that mile divided by your tank volume. This gives you the mileage of your car, right? Sometimes you get a different number from your car reading. Like let's suppose you traveled 250 miles, and then from tank from the first filling to the second filling, and you know the your tank has a volume of 20. Let me make it easy. Okay, 20 gallons. Then from there, you can figure out the mileage of your car. You 250 divided by 20, you get 12.5 mile per gallon. I guess you're driving a big pickup or something. Okay, so it's pretty low, but at least you know what it is. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, let me give you just one more example about the use of unit analysis or units. I mean, compare calculation with units. Okay, so this time let's do a price comparison. Let's say you go to Walmart, okay, and you want to buy some milk for yourself, right? Now, what do you see? There's different brands there, all kinds of brands, right? And then for one of them, you see that the price is like $4.50 for 1 gallon milk, okay? Now, the other one you see is $3.2 for half gallon milk, okay? Now, you want to buy the cheapest, suppose, okay? Now, which one is cheaper? Now, out of the price, it seems like this 3.2 is cheaper. I mean, you pay less money out of pocket, but notice it's a different amount of volume as well, right? So what you really want to compare is not this price, these two prices right here, but you want to compare the price per gallon, right? So for that purpose, you need to do a quick calculation, right? Again, we're talking about something is per, so price per gallon, how do you calculate it, right? You simply take the whatever dollar you pay divided by the amount of gallon you got, okay? In the first case, you have 4.5 divided by 1 gallon, right? Now, the price per gallon you get is basically $4.5 per gallon, okay? In the second case, you take 3.2 divided by half gallon, which is 0.5 gallon. Now for that, you get actually $6.4 per gallon. Now you look at, this makes sense to compare, right? You look at these two prices, certainly the second one is more expensive. Now, so you may decide to go with the first one because it's cheaper, okay? Now, actually a lot of products in Walmart already have this price per unit volume or per unit, whatever there. If you look at that price, normally it's in red, I think. Okay? It gives you a better idea about what product you should buy. Hopefully this all makes sense, okay? Okay, now let's talk about the last part of this chapter, which is about problem solving. Okay, it's actually in the section 2C. It gives you, its title is Problem Solving Guidelines and Hints. It gives you all kinds of hints that how to solve a problem. Okay, there are totally 8 of them. I strongly recommend you guys to read all these 8 hints. You cannot read everything. At least read the first first paragraph of that hint. I think they're all pretty good hints. Okay, I'm gonna give you some hint that I feel like useful, but I'm gonna keep it really simple. Okay? Instead of 8 hints, I'm gonna give you 2 hints. Okay. Okay, the first thing I want to give you is try to break down the problem. Okay, maybe let me call it this way. Simplify the problem. I'm sorry. Simplify the problem, okay? Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, let's say you have a big problem, like taking this course, for example, right? That's a big problem, right, to solve. The big project. How do you do this project? Okay, the idea is try to simplify it. How do you do that? Okay, the basic idea, you can break down this whole project or the whole problem into many, many smaller pieces. Okay, and each time just focus on one piece. And for example, today, your job is just to watch this video of chapter 2, right? And then to read maybe a few sections of the book and understand this. And then tomorrow you do another thing, etc., etc. Okay, nobody can do anything big. We can only do small things. Okay, so simplify problem by breaking it down to many small pieces and do it one by one. And sometimes another trick is if I have a complicated problem, it's just too complicated, you cannot solve the problem at all. Try to solve a similar but simpler version of the problem. Okay, simplify the problem artificially by yourself. Okay, solve that problem. Okay, you may feel like it will not help you because you're solving a different problem, but actually, to solve a simpler problem, give you a lot of ideas and experience, and you can use in solving the more complicated problem. So even if the problem you have, the problem you solve is not the real problem. Okay, it's a simpler problem, but it still helps you. So try that as well. Okay. Now the second trick, here I want to give you is this. Okay. So go back to fundamentals. Okay. Let's say you want to solve a problem about a unit, right? And you feel like the problem is complicated. You don't know how to solve, right? It's always help if you go back to step 1. Okay, go back to the definition of unit. Okay, the basics like what we talk about, the unit conversion, how to convert a unit. Okay, and how to use this word of per to develop a new unit given the 2 units you have before. Okay, whenever you got confused about a complicated problem, you don't know what to do, where to go. Go back to the fundamentals. Go back to the simple cases. Okay, this actually works not only for this class, but for a lot of problems you have in real life. Okay, whenever you get lost about your life, you want to make a decision, you don't know what to do. Think about the original motivation. Okay, why do you want to do this at the first place? Why do you want to become a doctor, or you want to become a lawyer, or you want to do this or that? Okay, go back to the fundamentals, go back to the basic. Okay, and I think with these 2 and all these hints given in the book, you should get ready to solve all the problems. Okay, and that is all for today. The last thing, right? You want to get the bonus point for watching this video, right? Answering this question and send me email. Okay, the question for video 1 is this. Okay, tell me out of the whole thing we discussed, tell me which point you think is easy and simple to understand. Tell me which point you feel confused. Okay, do not just say that I understand everything or I don't understand everything, right? Because be specific. If you understand everything, tell me everything you understand. I understand point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, etc. Okay. Otherwise, there's no way I can tell whether you actually watched this video or not. Okay. So be specific and answer the question. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video.